everyone, it's Sherry with Squatchable, and today we're going to talk about Expedition Bigfoot, the second episode of their first season, and hopefully you all have seen it by now because the third episode is going to be coming right up on you. So this is just kind of a going over it and talking about what happened on there. It looks like the show is picking up speed, so my assumption that the first episode was going to be a whole bunch of this is who this is who this is, and yeah, hootsy. Well, it looks like that was the case. In this episode, they did a whole bunch more stuff, and there was some pretty cool little things happening in there. So hopefully the progression of the show keeps ramping up like that. Hopefully that's what they're planning on doing. So this episode is called Did You Hear That? Once again, that really famous image that was going out everywhere in the news and everything, it was not featured in this one. And so this one's about audio stuff that they found out there, audio evidence that they were checking out. And in this episode, we did not have RPG. It looks like whatever his headaches were, it was bad enough to keep him out for a while. And we don't know who this new person's going to be. So Bryce, the head guy in the show, kind of the ringleader, I guess you could kind of see him since he's running the CENTCOM area. He reached out to Bob Gimlin to find out who maybe they should bring onto the show. So that mystery guy that you see, or that we had mentioned in the first one, I can't remember his name for the life of me right now. I have a feeling we'll see him in the next episode, but I didn't see any strange people in previews for the next episode, so maybe not. We'll have to find out on that. Bryce reached out to Bob Gimlin and asked him if he had any infrasound stories or knew anything about that, and he had an infrasound story to share, and it sounds like they're really going to keep pushing that. RPG was taken out by infrasound. One of the problems I have with that, though, is that Maria was there with them, and she's still on the show. She's still marching around, and I don't see her curled up in a tent clenching her head. So whatever happened, it was very specific to RPG. It did not affect Maria. It looks like the camera guy's still there. I'm sure if the camera guy was taken out by headaches, they would have made sure to feature that as well, since they're riding so heavily on this infrasound attack storyline. But it appears that's not the case, likely what's happened. I mean, seriously, it only affected one person, and so severely. Even if it was focused at one person, you would think that a little bit would have affected Maria or one of the camera people, maybe gotten in the backlash and stuff. Because if you understand how infrasound and animals work, it's not like a laser pointer gun that's very, focused and precise. Sound waves, they spread, they move out, they expand. So anybody out there would have been susceptible to having stuff like this happen, but it was only RPG. So I don't know. I think they're riding too heavy on I feel like they're riding too heavily on the infrasound storyline for RPG. I think the poor guy just had something happen to him up there, maybe elevation or weather, or maybe he clenched his jaw too hard sleeping at night and pinched the nerve right here and gave himself a really gnarly headache. I don't know. I think it's more along those lines, though. So for this episode, Maria and Russell, they went back to the same areas that they were originally at before they were called in to find out that RPG had to go to the hospital. So Russell is hiking out with a 70-pound pack. Okay, I knew that bag was heavy, but that's 70 pounds. That's probably carrying half of Maria on his back. I don't know. That's a lot of weight to be carrying. And so he's hiking out there with that. And he went to the same area where he smelled a funky smell, hung out there for a while. Didn't see anything. He set up around his tent some trip wires, and they were set up at about waist height. So it wouldn't likely to be something to have raccoons accidentally run smacking into. And meanwhile, while Russell is doing all that, Maria went out to where her and RPG were at before, and she used a sound recording that, based on when they said, it sounds like it was recorded in 2018. I'm not familiar with which sound this is, because I hear a lot of sounds. There's a lot of sounds that we don't post just because people don't allow us to. So I hear a lot of sounds, and this one I'm not sure which one this one is. Maybe it's someone that, exclusively they gave it to them to be able to use. But she did some sound blasting with that audio, and she actually got a response back. You can hear the sound out in the distance, fortunately, when they turn off the music. But yes, you can hear something responding back. And with her reaction, you can tell that she was pretty surprised that she got it. I think she's got one of those kind of personalities that she's like, meh, all the time. She's not like a wee, wee, wee kind of person. And so for her to have that kind of reaction, it sounds like she felt that it was definitely significant and surprising to her. And of course, she decides to go running off to chase down that sound in the direction that she thought it was coming from. So after she kind of identified where the sound was coming from, she went running after that direction to try to see if she could find the source of the sound. She had a camera crew with her, so it's not like she was totally solo. And, she's been around some pretty large primates, so I think she's got that okay. So with Russell, he did at some point, back to Russell now, he had at some point shown that the tripwires were pretty hard to trip, and since that got tripped, that means something went through it. Now granted, it could have been a deer just running at high speed and saying, wee, and just smashed through it. That's always a possibility. But he had heard some noises out there, like a crack sound, so he was using military-grade night vision goggles and taking a look around, and of course, in typical television show style, they hype it up. Turns out it was a deer. The nice thing, though, about them showing that it was a deer is that you can see how clearly you can identify a deer's body. I mean, you can, really, really see it really well with these binoculars. It's crisp, it's clear. It is definitely a deer. I mean, maybe if somebody let loose an ultra trim goat in the woods, okay, maybe it might be a goat, but considering where they're at, it's a deer. Or maybe an elk. Don't know about that one. Don't know Oregon too well. On this show, they do go and interview witnesses, and today's witness is a gentleman named Brian Zemp, and Bryce goes and interviews him. And it sounds like the purpose of talking with this particular witness is to really drive the point home that the sounds that these creatures make can be traumatic, debilitating, and everything. The witness that they had this time, he had experienced had experienced a Bigfoot with his brother when they were kids, and he said that the sound was a very penetrating sound, kind of like a bass in a car. If you've ever ridden in one of those cars as a teenager and you're like, woohoo, we're riding this jalopy with these bass speakers. It sounds like they're describing it like that. But again, it seems like they're kind of trying to drive it home, that whole infrasound thing with Bryce. But this witness, he was pretty shooken up thinking about what happened to him as a child. I mean, he was very emotional. I've seen people who have experienced some really bad things, and he was having the same kind of reaction. Now, I know some people kind of have a different threshold about what can bring them nearly to tears, but, this gentleman, he was brought nearly to tears with his memory of witnessing this creature with his brother. So I can't tell for certain when Maria went into the photos, but they did get some photo evidence. It was pretty cool. I mean, the thing is they have all these trail cameras. They're on a mesh network, and she accessed the cameras. I guess they have everything being sent to one camera, and she went there and pulled the SD card and was checking through them. And you can see a lot of, cute little four-legged snack foods, I guess you could call them, for Bigfoot snack foods, deer and stuff like that. But they got to one image where you could clearly see the background, you've got your trees and everything, and like a small young tree, and it looked perfectly normal. And then the next image actually had a tall, shadowy figure at that point. Unfortunately, she didn't go to that camera point and maybe try to figure out approximate height or anything. So I feel like that one they could have done more with, but with her, she was like, this is more of a shadow thing, and just kind of left it at that. And she left it just at that. But I think that was one of the really interesting things because, I mean, yes, I know Yogi the bear can walk on 2 back legs, but even Yogi the bear has kind of a height limit. So it'd be nice to see how tall that shadowy figure in the image was. And unfortunately, she didn't give that to us. Hopefully they go back and revisit that later on, and maybe they're just focused on gathering evidence, and then they'll do a follow-up towards the end of the season. I'm hoping they do that, but that was really, really cool to me. And she had checked through the area. There was no definitive tracks near the trail cam, according to her. She said there's lots of deer tracks, and there was some large unknown tracks, but it wasn't like there was toes or, the hallmark bear claw looking stuff. So there's a lot of vagueness around that one, but I think that image is probably the cool thing that came out of this episode. Also, during this episode, Russell found some hairs. One he said that he felt was probably definitely a bobcat hair. He picked it up with a stick and put it into a little test tube, sealed it up. Also, he went digging around in a bird's nest around the outer edge. He did not destroy the bird's nest, if any of you are worried about it. He just kind of plucked it out with a pair of tweezers out on the side after gloving up, and it looks like he was using tweezers that were put into like a sanitization packaging, basically to prevent contamination from humans on the DNA and stuff, and he collected that. So they are going to check those out, and in fact, this crazy man named Russell Acord decided that he needed to rappel down a 450-foot cliff face to get it down to Bryce to run it out to, I guess, Dr. Meldrum, if I'm assuming by the next episode. But they had to get that out there, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it was of utmost urgency. They get it out of there very, very fast, even though it was in sealed tubes. I don't know. I don't know why he had to rappel down a 450-foot cliff face in rainy weather with like thunderstorms going on. Everything about that just screams dodo. I don't know. Just, yeah, that's how people named Russell go extinct on a mountain. I would say that's probably how that happens. That wasn't wise. The justification that they had, though, about him rappelling down it is that they said that he was several days away from their base camp. I don't know. Their timing seems a little bit odd because the way that they show Russell's progression, it seems like at most he's like 1 day's hike. Well, yeah, basically 2 days away. But it sounds like they're saying that he's like 3 or more days away. I'm not sure. The timing just doesn't quite match up right. And so, I don't know. But for me, I can't figure out the justification for sending him rappelling down a cliff face 450 feet high in the rain with lightning out there. That just does not sound wise. I'm going to keep harping on that. Oh, and yes, he took a beating. He kind of slipped and crashed himself up against the wall and everything, so I think I was right. That wasn't wise. So they brought in some new technology in this episode, something that I have not seen before, but it's really, really cool. And it was to help out Maria try to locate where sounds are coming from, because it looks like she might be in a little bit of a bowl where this area was that she was sound blasting. And when you're in a bowl area, you send out sounds and it's hard to identify if it's bouncing off walls or if a sound is coming from one area. It could be coming from behind you, bouncing and reflecting back at you, that kind of stuff. it makes it hard to figure out where the sounds are coming from. So Bryce went to go see some guys at a company called CTSI, and they do stuff with government things, and I guess the technology that they brought out there to help out Maria try to find where the sounds are coming from, they call them the dragon eggs, and I guess they're normally used in a military application. The way that these dragon eggs are normally used is they identify where sounds are coming from, so that way our soldiers can figure out, which way they need to identify their enemies coming from. Well, for this, they're going to put them out there, and after Maria blasts out the call sound, if they get a response, they should be able to figure out where it's coming from. And it's pretty cool. They managed to get them out there. And so it's really cool technology. I haven't seen this used before. It's a really wise idea, especially since, like I said, you sometimes can't identify where sound is coming from. So they did do that. They went back to where Maria did a sound blasting. She did it again, and they actually got a response, and they were able to give her GPS coordinates of where it's coming from. And that was the end of the show. She went running off to go and find what made this sound. So it'll be fun to see what they find there. Yeah, and it was lovely. As she was running off, they were making sure to emphasize about how terrifying Bigfoot is and stuff like that. Basically kind of trying to build up the fear that, oh my goodness, Maria's going to be ripped to shreds. Her arm's going to be on the left mountain. Her leg's going to be in the pond. It sounds like they're trying to build it up like that. But in all honesty, as she's running away, you can tell she's being ran behind with a camera crew guy, maybe multiple people, plus the CTSI guys. Who knows? They may want to be in on this too, because they're probably like, oh my goodness, we're finding Bigfoot. I don't know, but they're trying to amp up the danger level. But in all honesty, she's got a whole crew behind her going to wherever that sound was at. So one thing I'll definitely say as kind of a con with this show, something that's a negative, is that like a lot of the shows out there, the cliffhangers are really big, but the payoffs are really small. Hopefully this payoff will be a little bit better with Maria running out there. I definitely don't want to see her rip limb from limb, but I would like to see if maybe they catch something running off into the woods when they get there. That would be pretty cool. But I don't know, if the cliffhangers are like the ones that other shows have done, she's probably going to get there and there ain't nothing there anymore. So I did go through the comments on the first video that I did the review for, and some people had some really interesting comments. If you look right here, this one, Carrie Farnsworth on Facebook, it says, just one question. Why did the lady hike up to where she heard the sounds, but when they went to put up the sensors to hear the noise, they drove up to the spot? You might fool some city people, but you need to try harder to fool us country people. Which, that is a really interesting question, because they've been making a big deal about her hiking out there and stuff like that. But when the gentleman with CTSI had the dragon eggs, they literally just drove right out there. They had their little SUV there. When they were calculating where the sound came from, they were checking it on their laptop, on the hood of the SUV. So it may be a remote area, but obviously they're able to get in there with trucks. So it does make me wonder, if they're able to drive into this area with their SUV, why is she running to the sound? Just hop in the guy's SUV and floor it out there. Get out there fast, don't jingle jangle your whole way up the trail going, like 4 miles per hour, and scare off everything in the woods before you get there. Just get in an SUV and drive. Also, why don't they have ATVs? I mean, I guess maybe there might be restrictions on ATVs. Give these people some bikes or something. I don't know, give them something to move a little faster. And Eric Anderson on Facebook, he said, at least they have a plan and aren't lumbering through the woods at night making human yelling noises. That is true. It looks like they've got some planning here, but, as you see with Carrie Farnsworth's comment there, There's a little bit of continuity problems, but you know what? Overall, I just enjoy it. And in response to the first episode, Batcast Little Bass Cat Little Dave. Oh, that name messed me up. This one looks like it's over on the YouTube. Said, I enjoyed the first episode, waiting now for episode 2. I like the fact that during another interview, Russell said there is not a production crew with him on his solo camp. He said it's just him and one cameraman. So I don't know how big Maria's crew is, but Russell is basically telling people that he's just got one camera guy with him out there. So if you're wondering, it's just him going out there solo. And also on YouTube, LKH Fun, on the last video I mentioned about the legend of Bigfoot, he said that it's a YouTube movie and there's a link to the trailer. I checked on that and it went straight to a paywall, so I'm not quite sure. And then I had another person tell me that it was part of another series and that's just the name of one of the episodes. I'll figure it out more and see if I get that pulled together so I can actually let you guys know and speak intelligently about that really good show that was on before the first episode. Now, Steve Blackwell also mentioned on Facebook, something that came to my mind immediately watching this episode, was that it cracks me up that with all the technology we have these days, she's tramping through the woods with a lantern and telling you she can't see past the next tree. Turn the lantern off and wear your night vision goggles. Come on now, be prepared. I agree with that. Because, those lanterns, it's giving you light from 4 directions. So, yeah, it's projecting light out that way and out to the sides, but it's also projecting light at your eyes. That doesn't help you with seeing. I mean, especially with me and my glasses. My goodness, I'll be like, oh, look at there, I'm walking in the fog of light. So, yeah, I think that lantern maybe isn't the wisest lighting decision. I don't know if that was just somebody's decision. I don't know. I would think that somebody would tell them that having a light that's focused in one direction that doesn't shine back in your eyes would be a much better lighting solution. So it was really nice to see what some people thought about what was going on there and, kind of give us a little bit of a extra input. I mean, I had thought about this, about the lantern thing, and then, after it was pointed out about the, they drove a truck out there, and she could have just ridden in it. That's a little... So it was really cool to see everybody's comments on this show, especially since we had some people commenting on episode 2 while I was watching it, and they were commenting on the episode 1 video about episode 2. So I really love that. And also, if you're a fan of Dr. Meldrum, it looks like Dr. Meldrum is in the episode 3, so the next one, which will be coming on soon. So definitely, if you're a fan of Dr. Meldrum, you might want to check that out. And let us know in the comments below what you think. I'm going to continue doing my reviews of the episodes kind of late in the week, probably all the way up until just before the next one airs, because I understand some people, they just don't get around to watching it as early as some of us may, because, they got things going on in life, and especially with the Christmas season. So I'm going to go ahead and continue doing it kind of later in the week. And kind of think of it as like a recap before the next episode comes on. Oh, by the way, I was watching it live on the air. The commercials, this is just a side note. The commercials that are coming out are kind of a fun one. There's this Emgality commercial, and it's so weird. It's 2 adults that are pretending to be Indiana Jones in their house. Yeah, right there. I noted that because they're migraine free. I hope I don't have to see that commercial all the time, because every time I see it, I'm like, what are they doing? And then also, Steve Irwin's kids are following in his footsteps, tackling gators and stuff like that. So, it'll be fun to see what comes out from them. Maybe those Irwin kids can go looking for the yowies. So thanks for sticking around to watch this video, and I'll see you on the next review that we do of the show, and hopefully we get some cool news from Dr. Meldrum. I I love watching the stuff that he does. I love listening to him talk. He's an awesome guy. He's one of the few academics that doesn't laugh at the Bigfoot community. And I really appreciate that. I mean, the thing is, we may not have a lot of academics that really support the Bigfoot community, but the academics that we do are really good people, and he's one of them. And, you know, people that are out there and doing university work, but then on the side are joining us in trying to prove the existence of this creature, it adds a layer of awesomeness to them. So yeah, I don't know. If you like Meldrum, watch the next episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye!